What's up, folks? So, as I promised, skin. Very interesting, right? And it's funny because whenever I go for a walk with my dogs, I always get some kind of like corn or something artificial, probably scratches me, and I go out and basically I'm strengthening my skin. So we have this saying called, "Oh, he has thin skin," or his skin is tough or rough, or he has thick skin, right? So when we talk about these kinds of things, I think what is implied is that there's a good side to wear and tear if it's not, extreme, right? There's a good side to exercise, fatigue, and some level of damage, very micro levels of damage to the body. It actually helps the body, right? Like small levels of bacterias and different so-called malignant things, once the body fights them off, gets stronger, right? So what's so dangerous about covering up everything, including our skin, is it doesn't allow our skin to exchange with the outer realm. So now we have to look at skin as a doorway or as a portal, right? You have pores, and liquids and sometimes solids pour in and out of them, right? And so it's these kinds of things. That's why when you sweat, it comes in the form of perspiration, right? Uh, when it dries off, it's salty. So it's these kinds of things, right? That the skin is a constant exchange. Really, it's a mouth almost. It's a little bit different than ingesting down your alimentary system, right? The process of absorption and elimination is a little bit different. But essentially, again, your skin is your third kidney. So your third kidney wraps around your entire body and is constantly regulating ins and outs. So here comes the first question. What happens when we use products or when we put foods on our skin that are not correlative to our DNA structure, that have no gene food consistency? What happens? Well, then the skin immediately can't recognize that and can't deal with it, because if it was a bacteria coming from nature or whatever, it would still know how to deal with it better than an artificial, you see what I'm saying, non-organic formulating event. So this is where you have to look at both of the issues, right? Because one is, again, that we're creating fake things, and the other side is we're not interacting with the so-called bad bacteria in nature enough. We're not strengthening our bodies enough. And again, we're adding an artificial component to it. So again, with skin, you have to consider everything, right? Whether it's rubbing something over your skin, right? Whether it's eating something, it's the same process. So you only want to be putting things on your skin that you can eat, right? So that includes makeup, that includes shaving cream, that includes shampoo, that includes everything we use day to day. That includes laundry detergent, that includes the different chemicals we wash our floors with. All of these things we have to take into account. And for me, I haven't found a better alternative than vinegar just yet when it comes to needing some kind of a acid component that eats away, right? But perhaps there is an alkaline way to clean things as well. It's just I'm just imagining a circumstance where you need to how do you say, like, get the chance for mold growth out, right? So it's these kinds of things. But the thing is, I wouldn't use like um, bleach, I suppose, right? Because I think my skin can take vinegar in small degrees, but I would never use bleach to wash my hands. So it's these kinds of things. It's like I don't know for sure 100%, but I'm trying to narrow it down to less and less unknown chemical components, right? I'm trying to fight the battle with the least amount of dependent variables on the system that creates the shaving cream and that creates the makeup and the and that creates, you know, the masks, and that creates all of this artificial cover up. And the other thing we have to talk about is with your skin, you breathe and you receive light, the sunlight, and you know, the wind and the air. So we always think that I just breathe through my nose. No, your whole body breathes. It's just that we're so disconnected from letting our body breathe, and we're so conditioned to you know, covering everything up. We never once let it breathe the way it's supposed to breathe. So a lot of people, in wearing too many things over their skin, are choking themselves, and they don't even realize, right? And it's very poetic, because when you aren't wearing anything, you're very vulnerable, right? So I'm not saying there aren't circumstances. Let's say you need to fend off some tigers or something, right? Yeah, maybe it's best not to go naked then. Who knows? I don't know. You know, like there are certain circumstances where it might be better to wear clothes, like dealing with bees. You know, I'm not saying let's get rid of all clothes. I'm saying let's question always wearing them. You see what I'm saying? There's a difference. I'm saying maybe the natural way doesn't always have clothes on all the time. So it's these kinds of things. So again, you breathe with your skin. You receive with your skin. When you go out into the sun, when you go out into the moon, right? When you're out in the rain and the electric clouds are putting this powered water onto you, right? When you're in a ocean, or when you're in a spring high up in a mountain somewhere, right? You're exchanging with the outer world. That's why, like, whenever Sebi talks about thermal, geothermal waters with all that extra volcanic mineral in it, right? Why does it help so much when you go sit in it? Because again, your skin is a portal, is a doorway for good or bad, for artificial or organic, right? So we have to widen our perspective of skin. We have to take into all of the things that we've missed, right? In such a rigid point of view over our skin, and such a conditioned, limited point of view on our skin. So it's these kinds of things, again, that we should be talking about with skin. What else? So yeah, there was a case where Sevi had this girl. Every time she would wear, or maybe it was a guy, I think it was a girl. Every time she wore clothes, she would like basically have a panic attack, like type asthma attack type event. Like she wouldn't be able to breathe, so she would need to take her clothes off. And so Sebi realized, oh, she's not just breathing with this. She's breathing with her whole organism. We need to remember that breathing is not just the lungs, right? Because what does the breathing in the lungs do? It pushes that oxygen and that energy out to all the regions of the body. And at the same time, all the other regions of the body are taking in the air that is outside, or the liquids one is putting on from the outside. So if one puts on toxic chemicals on their skin, it's more work for the kidneys, and there's probably cancers being built up and toxins being accumulated wherever one is applying these artificial substances. And it's very interesting, right? That there's immense benefit to cold. Because when you go into a cold water, or when you feel a cold breeze, what immediately do? You gasp. You gasp for air, because you're breathing deeply so that your body can prepare to produce more heat. So your body can stay alive. So most people, in avoiding the cold, they're really shallow breathing. They're not having to breathe to expand their diaphragm fully, and kind of holding it in some sense a bit, and then letting it go, right? Really utilizing the oxygen in each breath. So that's the amazing thing about coldness and being exposed to the cold, is having to deal with the cold and strengthening that way and becoming a warrior, right? Because a warrior is cold. So in a warm way, in a loving way, let's go to the cold. Let's embrace the cold. Let's embrace the darkness. Let's embrace the rarefaction. Let's embrace the distance. And then we will further appreciate the closeness and the warmth and that which is, high in thermal capacity. So essentially, your skin is a portal for spirit, because you can put bad spirits on, or you can take some good spirit. Spiritus, right? It's about the wind and water. That's what your skin does. It's basically a ball of water. And what does water do? It's memory, so it absorbs its surroundings. It's, again, the negative principle. So our body, why do men have nipples? It makes no sense. Our body was made in the metaphysical womb, the negative principle womb. So we're still in Isis's egg, right? And then probably the sperm is the spine, plus the soul that embodies the egg or the shell, right? So I'm calling you guys snails. Anyhow. So yeah, instead of hiding the skin, why don't we consider changing the environment such that we don't have to hide the skin? Because right now, if I told you guys to take off all your clothes in the city, a lot of people would be getting arrested. Or perhaps if everyone did it at once, it would just become the new norm. I don't know. But yeah, that's another thing to consider is, where can I wear clothes minimally? Because there I can be the most healthy, just objectively speaking, right? And even in the society, oftentimes the societies that cover up are a lot more rapey than the societies that don't. Because with clothes, with constantly covering up, ourselves, we add an immense amount of angst and repression and suppression over those private parts, right? All that suppressed energy when it should be in the sun, spread open, wide, receiving, grace, sterility, purity. It should be just like a satellite. And we don't want to open up to the light because why? We feel shame. That's the main reason people don't want to show their skin, is shame. And people think it's shameful to show your skin, like it's some cocky thing. It's like, no, I was born with my skin. I wasn't born with clothes. Why is it shameful to not wear clothes? It should be shameful to wear too much clothes all the time, outside of very special circumstances like dealing with bees or, I don't know, scuba diving or whatever it is, right? Or there's a distinct purpose for covering the skin. But right now there's no distinct purpose at all. It's just a fashion statement. So a degenerative habit became a fashion statement. Excuse me. We got to start wearing hemp and more clothes that are down to earth. And yeah, so the thing with shame is, if you cover it up, it keeps going. So with skin, right, if we keep covering it up, we're constantly telling the world we need to cover ourselves up. And then suddenly that shame becomes the reason why I perpetuate this so-called sin, and I keep observing bad habits because I'm guilty about the bad habits. And because of my guilt, I can't face my bad habits. You see the circular downward spiral here? So the sine wave of the K in, let it in and let it out. Because the skin needs to be doing both, in and out. And we can't come in the way and say, stop doing what you're supposed to do, skin. I'm on a Pilates yoga ball. So it's hard to be masculine in such a, it's so. But skin, feel no shame, right? and find an environment where you can be emotionally, physically, psychologically supported for doing what is healthy. I love you guys.